So I'd like to kind of cover what we did yesterday, kind of do a little review so there's no confusion. So when you open up your picture, here you are, you've got your picture. You want to remember that you want to go to image and image size, and you want to change your 72 pixels per inch resolution to at least 150, if not 300 pixels per inch. And you want to make sure that this resample image is clicked off. You want to input here 150 pixels per inch, and you will notice that the width and height of your document will get smaller. And if you put 300 in here for pixels per inch, it will get even smaller. And you want to remember that 300 pixels per inch are for printing on a press, offset printing presses. If you're printing to a inkjet printer or a laser printer, in the classroom, a color printer, you can have 150 dpi resolution and you'll still get a pretty good image that you can work with printed out. But for press, anytime you're sending anything to the press, it needs to be 300 pixels per inch. So if you have entered 300 pixels per inch, this would be the maximum that you could have your picture when it's printed. The size of the picture would not be bigger than this. Once you start making your image bigger than what this says here for 300, you'll start getting pixelation. So just keep that in mind. And we'll say OK for that. And also here in your layers, originally when you first bring in a photo from your digital camera, this will say background and it will have a lock on it, and you need to double click on it to unlock it, and you'll get a window up. This is not the window that you'll get up. And you want to change the names of your layers. So for this case, I might click once or twice there, select it, and just say original. You probably don't want to work with the original. You want to duplicate the original and work with that one. So what you do is you click and hold onto the layer and drag it down to this little sheet right here, and it will create a duplicate of the layer. Another way that you can do it is you can click on the layer and hit Command J, and it will duplicate the layer. So we're going to work with this layer right now and not this one. So if we do anything to this one, it doesn't matter. We can just take it and trash it in the garbage and we're all set. So we learned about the move tool or the selection tool, which is the first tool here, and it's the letter V. If you click on it and you click anywhere within your image, you will be grabbing everything and moving it. And so if I move this, you'll notice that there's another picture of Mr. Bennett in the back because we have another layer here in the back. So I'm just going to take that off right now and go back to my layer, and I'm going to move Mr. Bennett kind of back to where he was. So it's your move tool. It is used to move things around in different layers. This is your, if you keep your mouse over it, it will tell you, this is your Marquee tool, and right now we have it set to the elliptical, but if you click and hold, you will get the rectangular, the single row, the single column Marquee tool. I'm going to choose the rectangular from now, and if I click and drag, I will make a selection. If I hold my shift and click and drag, I will make another selection. I can continue doing this holding my shift. So I've selected 4 parts of Mr. Bennett. If I hit the delete key, I can get rid of everything in those 4 parts. I might not want to do that. I might want to add a color to this instead. So as I said yesterday, here is where your color is in the toolbar, and you just double click on the color to change it. So I'm going to choose yellow, and this bar moves up and down, and you can choose anywhere within the hues, so I'll choose that instead. So I've just chosen a color. I haven't done anything with the color, and I still have these selections right now live, as you can see, with the little dashed lines moving around. Looks like little worms. So I'm going to put this color into these selections. I'm going to go Edit, Fill, and I'm going to choose the foreground color to fill with. This is the foreground color, this is the background color. And for my blending mode, I'm not going to say normal because it will just color it in completely and cover his face. I'm going to use one of the blending modes. I'm going to try multiply. So we're just playing right now. And I'm going to say OK. So that's what happens. And if I hit Command D, I will deselect, and I no longer have that selection available to me, excuse me. So if I take my Move tool now, and I click and I drag this, those squares and rectangles that I made are part of the selection. If I don't like what I did, I can do Command Z. Now Command Z only goes one step back. Remember, we already moved something, so we need to go a few steps back to get rid of this. So the way to do that is you hold Command Option Z and you keep hitting it until you go back to where you started. And I'm going right back to where I started. Now, another way of doing this is if I do something such as this again, I grab my selection tool, I'm going to hold my Shift, and I'm going to fill them all again with this foreground color right here and say OK. I could essentially go to my History tab right here. If it's not up, it's under Window. Go to History. I'm going to shut it down, and now I'm going to bring it back up again. So there's History. History remembers the last 20 steps that you did, and this is the very last step that I did, which was the fill. If I go all the way to here, Image Size, I've lost all those steps. I've gotten rid of them. So I don't have to do Command Option Z. I can actually go into my history and just go back, or I can go forward and say, oh, I think I want to stop at Layer Properties when I created the duplicate. So I'm not going to tell you anymore for now. That should be more than enough. Ciao, ciao.